Welcome back to the Rise with Anita podcast, or welcome if you're new here. This is the space where ambition meets embodiment, where soul meets strategy, and where we don't just talk about transformation, we learn how to live it in real time. And today's conversation is one I think many women quietly need because there are so many women walking through life looking capable on the outside, holding it all together, being the helper, the leader, and the one that everyone can count on, while internally feeling disconnected from themselves. Not because they don't have a voice, but because somewhere along the way they learned it was safer to stay quiet, safer to people please, safer to shrink who they are, safer to abandon the parts of themselves than risk rejection, judgment, or being considered too much. And eventually you wake up realizing you don't fully know what your truth sounds like anymore. So today I'm joined by Renee Reisch, women's empowerment and leadership
Reisch.
coach. Sorry. Four-time best-selling author and creator of the Voice Blueprint. And what makes Renee's work so powerful isn't just what she teaches, it's how she's lived it. She understands what it feels like to lose your voice, literally, to disconnect from your truth, and to rebuild self trust from the inside out. And now her work helps women stop holding back, start leading, speaking, and living from a place of authenticity instead of performance. So today's conversation is really about identity, people pleasing, fear of judgment, self trust, and what it takes to actually come home to yourself again. But before we dive in, firstly, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Anita, thank you so much
And
for inviting me.
absolutely. We are going to be inviting you and the listeners to join us as we take a breath together. So, if you're able to, while you're listening, just place your feet on the ground, close your eyes, and ground back into your body. Relax your shoulders, soften your jaw, and just notice how often are you moving through life without checking in with yourself. And when you're ready, take a slow inhale through the nose, hold for 4, and exhale, releasing through the mouth for 6. One more time, inhale for 4, hold for 4, and release for 6. Just allowing yourself to soften, to arrive, and to be fully present. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Well, welcome, beautiful soul.
Thank you. This is beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I always start off my podcast before we get into your background with what is bringing you joy in this current season?
Being able to spend time with my mom. I think I'm saying this because we're doing this recording right after Mother's Day. So this is really a special time, and I think just to be grateful for what you have. It's easy to focus on things that we're lacking. But as we know, what you focus on expands. So the more you think of the things you don't have, and whatever those things or that thing is, the more you keep going down that rabbit hole of, and then this, and then this, and then before you know it, you're in like a depressed state. So instead of doing that, I just focus on what I do have. Not to say I never go into that mode, because I think being human, we all do at some point. But it's catching yourself and being aware, being conscious of it when it does happen, and saying, okay, choose a higher ground, choose a better thought, choose a more empowering thought, and embody and embrace that, because it's about the feeling that we get to embody that, and that elevates where you are.
Such a beautiful answer, and I love that your answer comes back home to mama because I am such a mom's girl. So I can totally relate. And it's like you when you're in the right presence, you don't have to do anything. There's something beautiful about just being able to be with the person that you're created you and really connect and spend that like nurturing time together.
It's true, it really is, because the more you are there, and the more I think also as we get older, I can speak for myself. Then the more we get older, the older we get, the more we I think tend to appreciate things in our life. The things that bothered me 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or maybe yesterday, I'm like, okay, let it go. It's not as important as what the bigger thing is, and the meaning that you. It's really about the meaning you give to things, the energy you put forth to it.
Absolutely. And as you already beautifully stated, where intention goes, energy flows. Ah, that's wrong.
Where focus goes, energy flows.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Big Tony Robbins girl, and I still messed that one up.
you're good. It's all good.
Well, so I want to take our listeners back for those of you who are not familiar. When you say you lost your voice, and I kind of prefaced it in the intro with she literally lost her voice. What did that actually look like in your life?
It looked like a very dark time. It looked like not wanting to live. It looked like being shut out from the world. All of that is true. I was quarantined what turned out to be 4 months. I did physically lose my voice. It was sores that were all over my vocal cords because I had contracted an illness. It was a virus in 2013. And I'm going to say the word attacked. It attacked my vocal cords. And for those spiritual people out there, that's your throat chakra. So I didn't know at the time. I didn't know what was going. Well, what was going on was a feeling I had, which was intense pain. And I didn't know anything about spirituality or throat chakras or what that meant. But what I realized and came to learn years later is that I had repressed and suppressed my emotions. I had not spoken my own truth. I was people pleasing all over. You prefaced in the beginning of the show the things that we do, and I did check all the boxes there. I did everything, all those things. I was people pleasing. I was looking for outside validation for my own inner worth. If you accepted me, you liked me. I felt that I was welcomed into your world, right? And that's what it was. And the more I did for people, the more and they were happy with me, then I was more and more accepted. So I'm like, oh, let's do this behavior. People seem to like it. So not realizing I was doing that, consciously, I was just doing it. But years later, as I said, you tend to understand things more when you get into a different space. And I think especially being more consciously awake and aware that I can look back and understand that I was in fact choosing behaviors that seemed to support the love factor that I was missing somewhere in my life, because everywhere I went and I was doing that behavior, look at that, it works here, it works, you keep doing them. Like, so when it got to my corporate job, which is where I spent the majority of my time, and I was in management, and I was running multi-million-dollar teams, and the more I did, the more I was asked to do. The more I did successfully, I will say, the more I was asked to do. So I kept doing it. I just kept that, I go. I never asked for help because I thought that would be looking like I could handle it. Maybe I was weak, and maybe they picked the wrong person. I'm like, oh, I don't want them to think that. Maybe I'll lose my job. Again, this is the breadwinner here. I have to, I have to keep going. So I kept going, and I really didn't take time out to take care of myself. I mean, I would just go. Like if I would look at my watch, say, okay, I could eat in 15 minutes. I can get back to this. I can do this. If I'm off tomorrow, that instead of saying, oh, I'm off tomorrow, that's great. Say I'm off tomorrow. If I get up really early, I could do all these things for work, not for me, for work. And then when I get back to work, I'll be ahead of the game. And then it's like I can go to bed this time, or if I work a late shift, I could stay up till 1 o'clock, get these things done. And, it was always trying to do more, trying to have time to breathe. And in fact, it was shutting me down and shutting me up and stifling me because I didn't speak up. And I realized I didn't speak up anywhere in my life, personally, professionally, and eventually I didn't have a voice to speak with.
Yeah.
That was powerful and painful. Because when you don't speak your truth and you don't speak up, you let people walk on you. You laugh it off or you shove it down and you repress and suppress your emotions. It doesn't go away. Our body, there's a book called The Body Keeps Score.
Yes.
It does. My body was just fed up with me and said, what the are you doing?
Beep. Yeah.
Yeah, what the beep are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just going to keep going and I keep going and I keep doing this. And, so what if I have 5 hours or 4 hours of sleep? What does that mean? I got to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do that. And there's always like, I have to. I was like running like a chicken. My head cut off. Always go, 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 go. And eventually, my body said, just slow down. My best friend, who's a beautiful angel who will always be with me, she used to yell at me because she, as the observer and a very close proximity, not just to me, but of watching this happen. And she's like, slow down. And she, didn't say it so nicely because she was watching her best friend kill herself in real time. And I said, no, you don't understand. I have to do this, I have to do that. Meanwhile, she worked her rear end off in multiple jobs that she was doing, but she also knew how and when to stop and take care of herself. She always did. And I just kept zipping through, running through to the next. And I never stopped. And I just thought she didn't understand. And she was the one who understood and knew me better than I knew myself. And was trying to help me avoid a very painful time in my life because she knew she knew exactly what was happening, but she knew this can't end well. This girl is just never stopping and she's not taking care of herself. She's not eating well. She's not, drinking water in between. She's not doing any of the things you need to do. And she saw all of it not happening. And so I didn't listen. We got 2 of these and 1 of these. I didn't listen. And in not listening, there was a higher power that said, hey, your best friend is in your life because I put her there. And you're choosing not to listen to her. And she's giving you the best sound advice ever. And you're choosing not to listen. So guess what? There's the kibosh. You're going to listen. It's going to hurt like hell. And it did. So I was not really not really walking around. I was in my 4 walls, but turned out to be 4 months. And I wasn't eating. I wasn't drinking. I mean water. I wasn't drinking anything. I couldn't even drink tea and honey. Because honey was like pouring salt in an open wound. So I couldn't have anything. And I was just barely existing. And doctors had no cure. So it was a very painful time.
So much to unpack here. But the first thought that really comes to mind is you named off basically all the attributes of what was causing you to not use your voice. But I'm curious, on the flip end of that, what were you avoiding? What was the uncomfortable truth that you were avoiding speaking?
Oh, great question. How I really felt? Yeah, no one's asked me that. That's great. I've been on a lot of podcasts, no one's asked me that. How I really felt. Every time something more was given to me, every time someone asked one more thing, and I had many things to do for myself, that I didn't say what I needed to do for me before helping them. So I never spoke that. But then that turned into resentment, and that's tightening.
Mm-hmm.
That's this. Instead of open, it's very like, one more time you do one more thing for someone, one more thing. And then
You begin keeping score.
the body keeps it, yeah. And I just kept stifling my own voice. And so what was I not speaking? Anything that I wanted to say was not. So at first you're just like, oh, it's okay. Not a big deal. I'll do it, I'll take care of myself later, kind of like push it to the side. That's, suppressed emotions.
Hmm.
That's, you're just suppressing, you're putting it off to later, and later doesn't ever come.
Mm.
So, and then eventually, that's okay, turns into it's not okay, but I'm still not saying anything. And that's okay turns into resentment, anger, frustration, all those lower vibration feelings. And all of it just like tighten, it was like tighten, tighten, tighten. And then one day, it was the end of it. And I woke up, I was the only senior manager closing. It was a Christmas holiday, so you have all these Christmas hires. But I was in management, and I was the only regular, seasoned manager who was closing. And so I looked at the schedule because I was in so much pain. I'm like, how do I go in? How do I call out? How could I go in, but how do I call out? And I'm not advocating going to work or any place, a public place, when you're sick. Not the best or smartest thing, because you're also the possibility of infecting anybody else, and you don't want to do that. But I didn't even do that. I looked at the schedule and I said, oh my God, I'm the only tenured manager who can close this building. And no, all the other managers are off on the early shift. I'm the only one closing an entire building. They're not gonna let me call out, is what I said in my head. They won't let me call out. Instead of me saying, Renee, you never call out, they know your ethics. They know that you're always there. And they know the only reason you would call out is if you're really sick. But I didn't say that. I said, they won't let me. Like they're dictating. I'm letting them dictate how I feel. But that was my thought. Like, they're not going to let me call out. I'm the only one closing in this building. I can't call out. So I went in not feeling well, and it was a late shift. When I say late shift, we're talking Christmas. So I got out at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was there for like 10 or 11 hours. It was a very long day. And you're salaried. It's not an hourly. You're not punching a card, not a time clock. So it was, as each hour was going by, I was feeling worse and worse. I felt temperature rising. I felt my throat burning. And I went out. I remember shivering in the parking lot, getting to my car like, I can't wait to get home. I can't wait to get home. And I got home. I collapsed into bed. And the next day I went to urgent care, and I told the doctor I felt like there was a sore in my throat. Most people say they feel like they have a sore throat. I said, I feel like there's a sore in my throat. And she said there was. And she did some tests, and everything came out normal, but we didn't understand that. And the next day I went back. My best friend, who was still here in this physical world, drove me back because I was in so much pain. And that one sore exploded. She said, get her to the ER now. And that was the end. For the next 4 months, I was quarantined with no voice. They took the hospital 20 vials of blood in 3.5 months, trying to find out what was wrong with me and why they couldn't find a cure.
Wow. So much to unpack. I just. Okay, so take us back for a moment. It sounds like you had a little bit of acknowledgement that there was something, as you're not speaking, you were already sort of feeling that sign of like, hey, your throat is kind of maybe tightening or whatnot, but you were pushing it to the side because it wasn't serious yet. Is that an accurate assumption, or were you not conscious yet? You were not
That
conscious.
that is
Okay.
that one. I didn't have any inkling. I wasn't nothing. Like, I was not even. I wasn't spiritual in any way. I was just total corporate. Not that you can't be spiritual and in corporate, but I was just no way in the spirituality world. I had my faith for sure. I had the way I was brought up, but no way spiritual. Like, oh, is that a throat shock, or what does this mean, or let me get curious about. That was not even in any way. It's like, holy crap, my throat's on fire. I couldn't say that, but that was because I couldn't speak. Um,
Right.
yeah, and at some point, and I didn't know I was going to lose my voice. Nobody knew. I mean, I didn't. There was no way. Well, I'm sure God knew what was going on because there
Outside of
was a
God, no one else was cued
outside of God,
in.
I didn't know that my voice was going to go away. I didn't, I've most people have had a sore throat or have had laryngitis, but this was something I've never experienced before, as far as that burning sensation in my throat, and having so many sores that the doctor was telling my best friend to get me to the ER immediately. It was just something that never fathomed, and then not knowing if I would ever have a voice again. They didn't know, doctors being they didn't know if it was going to be permanent damage. So this was something that I never anticipated, never experienced, never heard of. This was called viral pharynx, your vocal cords, your pharynx. And the doctors just kept sending me more blood work. I would get voice messages on my phone because I couldn't answer it because there was no voice. So I would always see it said doctor of so and so, and I'd listen to the voice message. We need you to go for more blood work. We need to go for more blood work. More blood work. I'm like, how much more can I give? I was so weak because I could barely eat anything because I couldn't swallow. Mm-hmm. So, and it, honey, don't put honey when you have open sores in your throat. It's literally like taking salt into an open wound. It was burning. If anything could feel worse than it was already feeling, it was that. It was like taking a match and putting it on your throat. That's how the burning pain that I experienced. So that wasn't a smart idea. So that's what happened then. I didn't understand or know what was going on. It was just looking out my window, and I wrote in my book, which I know we'll talk about in a minute, it was like looking out of a hospital window. Because I wasn't allowed out. I was told, you're highly contagious, you can no longer be with the public. That's what the ER doctor said. Because I remember asking before my voice went out, again, not knowing it was going to. But it just stopped. It wasn't like you could whisper, like, when you have laryngitis, you could whisper in certain. And then people say that you're straining it more. I couldn't even whisper. Like my vocal cords, and I got to see them on screen, they're like two rubber bands, like that are next to each other. Mm-hmm. And when you speak like I am now, they connect and there's a vibration. And they vibrate off of each other when they connect. And they cause a sound. Well, mine couldn't connect because there were sores all over them, so there was no opportunity for them to connect together. So I was disconnected from myself. Literally. And from my soul, literally. I was disconnected. And that is so true. I had disconnected from my soul. I had disconnected from myself because I didn't speak up. I didn't speak what I felt. I just said, oh, that's okay. That's okay. Nothing was okay. It wasn't okay for people to walk on me. It wasn't okay for people to yell at me and blame me for things that weren't my fault. It wasn't okay to not address what I wanted and only do what somebody else wants. It's not okay to not speak up when you need to speak up. And stand up and grow a backbone. That's not okay. When I look back on my life, I realized I was bullied in school as a young girl. I was bullied in work when I was in work. I was in commission sales, and my sales would be stolen from other people, and I was bullied on the floor in different ways. And I always let it be okay. Because I figured, gosh, if I didn't do anything, what happens if I speak up? It could only get worse. If I tell on people, I have to see them again. It could only get worse. No good will come of this. Just shut up, Renee. Don't say anything. So I did in every area of my life. I just shut up. Until I was literally. I was literally shut up and shut down. And in pain, not just no voice, a tremendous pain with no cure. And isolated and said, you're no longer allowed with the public. So we're like, why am I existing? What was the purpose of me being born? I can't see my family. I can't see my best friend. I'm not out with the public. I'm isolated in four walls. I could barely swallow anything. It's not like go read your book or catch up on a soap or read a magazine. I just was in so much pain. As soon as my eyes would open in the morning, I wanted to go back to bed because I didn't want to see the movie. I didn't want to watch the scary, freaking scary, painful movie that I was the star of. I didn't want to watch it play out. It was too painful. So if I go back to bed and call me when it's over, then I'll come out. I didn't want to watch it because I didn't want to live it. It hurt too much.
Wow. So much to unpack here, and it's interesting because you had hit me right where I was going to take you, which was looking back, what were some of the earliest ways you had learned not that it wasn't safe for you to use your voice, and you started using the examples of like, oh, I was bullied, and because of that bullying, I created a narrative of it's not safe for me to speak up. So obviously, we have a beautiful, harmonious testimonial in front of us right now. So, what did your recovery process look like? And at what point did you maybe start to be a little more open to there's something more going on here?
So there was definitely more going on there. Again, I wasn't in that spiritual time
Yeah,
yet.
that's okay.
Not at all. I was okay. So you asked what was the recovery like. First of all, people are probably wondering how did she get her voice back. I'm going to answer this because that's something that I get asked a lot. So I'm just going to put it out there. And I said part of it in one of my answers to you, Anita. I was disconnected from myself, right? I said
Yes.
that, and my soul. So how do I get my
And
voice
you were
back?
questioning your purpose. See,
Yeah.
I was listening.
Yeah. Good. There's a test at the end. No, take notes. Uh, Hopefully you're taking mental notes, all of you, because I don't want. Well, the reason I say that, I'm kind of like, saying it,
She's
but
joking, but she's not.
yeah, and no pun intended, but I'm saying in jest, because I don't want other people, especially other women, but I know there's men out there too, to suffocate in silence, because I had suffocated myself. I had purely suffocated myself. And I don't want others to suffer in that suffocation of their own silence, as I did. So, how did I get my voice back? I had to disconnect in order to reconnect. The disconnection wasn't intentional, but it was from a higher power that it had to happen. It had to happen that way. Because I could have been 6 feet under if I was still on that trajectory of running through life and not slowing down. That was my next step. It was just diving in head first as I was digging my own grave. And I don't say that to be dramatic, but the life I was running through, I can't even say leading because I'm not sure there's any leadership in there, although I was leading multiple $1 million teams. But there was no breathing involved. We started this by breathing. There was no slowing down or breathing. I was like rushing and probably hyperventilating through my life to just go to the next thing, because I had so many different responsibilities. So many. Different teams, different, millennials, older, middle, men, women. It was just everything and responsibilities that I had to reach certain goals and achieve certain goals in each of the areas that I was responsible for, and all the people, and then hiring and training and it was like everything at once for all the teams. And we're talking about, I don't know, it's over a decade ago at this point. I wasn't really in the same space I am now to be able to handle anything like that. And I was just like, okay, I can sing okay to everything instead of stopping and talking to anybody about what I was going through, what I felt. And even though the teams did great, I brought them to the number 1 in the country, At what cost? At what cost? And it was my own health. And when you don't take care of your health, you know, as a manager, you're replaceable. As a human being, you're not. So you can always get the next person. But who's there for me? I need to be there for me. The way I showed up for everybody else, I need to be my best friend. And nurture and develop myself as I cared so much for others.
So basically, you were caring for others in a way that, see, this is the beautiful thing. And I recognize this not only in myself, but with the women I work with, where a lot of people, you hear the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. And
Right.
I strongly disagree with that because women have found a way to empty out the cup and they will pour from a depleted cup.
Yeah,
I,
that's exactly, you're right. I totally poured from the depleted cup. That I've never heard a phrase like, you're right, that's the saying, and that other piece I hadn't heard, but you're right. You, as a woman, we're nurturers, we're caregivers, you figure it out. You know, if there's not a way, you make a way, you do it. But at whose expense? And if you're empath, nurturing, caring, you know, it's like, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, so there was no back burner for me. I didn't even put myself on a back burner. It just didn't exist. It was just full steam ahead. And, you know, it works until it doesn't. It never really works is where I'm going with that. It never really works. Because it's going to not work at some point. You go until you get slowed down. And, again, your body keeps score. And, you know, you think, oh, I could do it. I've always done it. It's like, yeah, I always did it too until I couldn't.
until you couldn't.
Until I mean, I was like a, you know, if you hit the brake on a car like that, that's what happened. I go, and then I was like, I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, and then it's like, what is, and you know, the whole thing just unfolded, and so, yeah, that what it looked like. Also, I didn't say this piece. I was sent to the doctors because when they looked at my throat, they didn't know if it was going to be permanent damage. That scared the crap out of me because I didn't know that it may be permanent damage. I was like, when I heard that, when I wasn't speaking at that point, like, we're sending you to a specialist to see if it's permanent damage. I was like, in my mind, I was like, holy cow! I didn't think this was a possibility. I've had sore throats before. I knew this was different. But I didn't think it was a possibility. What do you mean to see if I'm going to ever speak again? We're going to see if it's permanent damage. What are you saying? I mean, I learned sign language when I was in school, but I didn't ever think I was going to have to use it for my own life to communicate with people. I mean, I just learned the alphabet, but still. I mean, I was like, I was scared. I was plumb frightened to death. I was like, oh my God. It was unbelievable. So, yeah, I was sent to the specialists, these, you know, doctors in white coats, and then they put my vocal cords on a big screen. I wrote in my book that's not how I intended to get to the big screen, but that's how I got to the big screen. But that's
I
how I
like
got
that
to
you
the
have a
big screen.
humor about it now.
Now I could. Then I was like, oh my God. So I'm looking up at my vocal cords on this big screen with the doctor's coats. They shoved this big thing down my throat that was choking me to see my vocal cords. It was a camera that they put down my throat because they needed to see my vocal cords. So it was a camera down my throat. I got my vocal cords on a screen. Like, feel like I'm choking as this thing is in my throat, this camera. And then they told me that it didn't appear to be permanent damage. That I could only hear, I couldn't respond because I had no voice. But inside I was like, oh my God, thank God. It didn't appear. That didn't mean it wasn't. It means it didn't appear at that time to be permanent damage. Obviously, I'm speaking, so it wasn't. But I was like, okay. So they sent me to a vocal coach to learn to speak again.
Oh, wow.
I had to learn how to speak. So what I'm going to say is something I hope everybody will listen to. Really listen. I had to learn to speak again. I'm repeating it. It wasn't the physical voice of speaking. That I had to learn, yes. I had to go to a vocal coach for that, yes. It was the internal dialogue. I had to learn how to speak to myself again with love and kindness and compassion and empathy. The vocal coach I went to was my outer voice. My vocal cords had atrophied from not being used for so many months. Just like your muscles do when you go to a gym and all of a sudden you stop. You can't go lifting the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 pounds, whatever you were lifting. You can't go, oh, let me go back in and keep benching whatever I'm benching or doing your squats, your lifts, or whatever you're doing. You can't go back and just pick up that weight if you haven't used them in 4 months. You got to work it back up. Well, my vocal cords, they're a muscle, and they hadn't been used in months. So I had to go to a vocal coach to learn how to speak again. And yes, she gave me exercises to do. So being the overachiever, I was Googling and finding more exercises. How can I speed up the process? I want to speak again. It has been so long.
Yeah.
Make sure you tell those you love them. Make sure you don't go to bed angry or fighting with somebody because you don't know when the last time you're going to speak with them again. And that's not to be a downer. It's just to be realistic. In my case, it was my voice. I couldn't tell those I loved them. I couldn't say thank you. I couldn't say I'm sorry. I couldn't say anything. Because I was not only speaking, not able to speak, I couldn't physically be with anybody because I was so contagious. I had a fever in my body for 4 months because there was an infection in my throat. And my body was trying to fight it off every day for 4 months. That was why there was a fever. It never did until eventually it released. And it wasn't, oh, she's speaking and now she's not, or she. It was a slow process. It took about a year for me to fully regain the use of my voice. Speak words of kindness to yourself. Give yourself a break. Be gentle. Be forgiving as you would with your best friend or a loved one. Instead of speaking, denigrating words, speak affirming words. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you love him or her.
Beautiful.
Speak affirmations. Be kind. You wouldn't be nasty like that to a best friend because they wouldn't be your best friend.
Yeah.
Or a friend of any kind. Or a colleague.
It's interesting, right? When you think about how cruel we will be within our own selves, and yet the cruelness that we typically have within ourselves, we wouldn't push outward.
Oh, my God, never. You're like,
And
never. Who would speak that way to anybody? It's like, then you're like, would
yet we
you go in
run
public?
ourselves with our inner mean girl.
Oh, in a minute, in a heartbeat, like, oh, you're, piece of this. And then it's like, then you go outside, it's like, oh, you're so sweet. Like, and then if that dialogue that you spoke to yourself, you were out there, I don't know that you'd have many friends.
Yeah, very true.
So be that friend and be authentic. I mean, if you're really that person, well, then you'll probably attract more of those people. But always be you, which you mentioned earlier, Anita. Yeah, you're going to attract the right people. I can say those people that end up in relationships, like, God, I always attract these same relationships because that's the energy that you're at. But I want this. But if you're at this energy, then that's what you're going to attract. You don't attract what you want. You attract who
What
you
you
are. Yeah. So if you're at an energy of, I don't deserve anything, I'm less than, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, and then, hey, how come I'm not getting all of the things that everybody else is getting? Like, because that's where your inner dialogue is saying that you're really not worthy of it. You don't believe you are. You don't believe you're worthy of it. You don't really believe you deserve it. Because if you did, you would attract it without doing anything, without pushing or stressing on things. You would attract it. The opportunities, the synchronicities, the alignments would be there.
Beautiful. And I'm
You know?
curious now because we are right on this frequency. What
Yes.
was your number one operating belief at that point? I am not what?
Probably worthy.
Yeah.
Probably, I'm just gonna say I'm thinking it was probably not worthy, not worthy, not deserving,
Enough?
not good enough. Yeah, not good enough. Well, because the more I did, the more expectations that would be placed upon me, and I would feel like I had to keep proving myself to be accepted. So instead of saying, "This is crazy that you're giving me all this responsibility," when I saw other managers having other people helping them, and I was given all of it around an entire building. Like, how was that? Why would that happen?
Mm,
So maybe because they saw I could, so I did.
yeah.
Maybe because I didn't ask for help, so I didn't get it. I mean, I don't know the answer. I didn't go. Never said. I'm just curious. Why didn't you ever give me help? You never asked for it, or why did other people get help for one area and I didn't get help for five? I mean,
Yeah.
so I don't know those answers. That's water under the bridge, and I'm not looking to move back in any way in my life. I'm looking
Right.
to move forward and to serve other people in a way that they understand um, what I went through, and that's what I wrote in my book. It's like what I went through. This is finding your voice, and it's not about me. It's about my journey, yes, for sure. But I write it in a story like it serves the reader. So I have takeaway sessions after each chapter. So where in your life do you feel this? Because it's about service, being in service to others after what you've gone through, so they could say, "Oh my God, I did that, or I do that, or maybe that's why ABC." I mean, look at this. I just opened it. There's no bookmark. This I just opened it. I said, I wonder what I'm going to turn to. The Year of Lost and Found. And I have a quote here. It's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." How perfect to open that up.
Wow.
Yeah. And,
Divine.
the beliefs, the word belief has BELIE, the lies that we tell ourselves of not good enough, of, not deserving or worthy. And then the chapters are super short, they're like 2-page chapters. And then I have a takeaway section with lined pages to write your answers because I wanted the reader to express their voice. And how can they do that? By writing. And I pose questions after each chapter to write your own answers. And you can go back to it. So you date it. Whenever you get the book, you date it, and then you can see how you're evolving. Oh my gosh, last month I was here, now I'm here. A week or two ago. I've got people that have read it 4 or 5 times already because they go back and they can see how they're evolving in their own journey. It meets you where you are every single time. So it's an evergreen tool for you, for clients, for gifts for people. It's in service always.
Beautiful. So I am curious in your take, and there's so much good nuggets just throughout this episode. So this might be a re-listen for some of you. Um, in your opinion, how long do you think women usually know the truth internally before they decide to allow themselves to speak it?
Mm. I'm going to say the truth is always there. The truth never goes away. We push it away because of our ego.
Ooh, she brought in the E word.
Yeah.
Man, that is a very good answer because how often do you know what you really should? It's interesting. I was talking to someone earlier today, and she was bringing up the fact that sometimes we know and we have this intuition, especially as women, about how a certain thing is going to go. And yet you'll push past that knowing and you get a different result than what you would like. And then you back end look at it going, man, I knew I should have done better.
Mm.
Because we don't trust our knowing half the time. And that creates this misaligned energy of actually speaking up or actually not doing the thing or doing the thing, whatever the chance might be.
Yeah.
And so it's very fascinating when you think about how often you already know and how, and this is one thing I'm so passionate about is like the body knows. It is your actual, like, you think AI is cool, like your body is much more wise than the AI.
It's so smart. It is so smart. we could do what we want. You think you're in control of things. You think, oh, I got this down, and it's you just feel like I could push past it. I could muster through this. I could just do this one more thing, and then you just like it.
Crash.
Yeah, you crash and burn, and I did in my life because I didn't speak up. And how often I think we all know what we should do, and yet we don't. And a lot of it is fear based. The projection of what if I don't succeed, what if this doesn't work out, and we think that everybody's watching us in our lives. Meanwhile, they're more concerned with their own life, and they should be. But and also social media is, it's social. So you're not going to put out the real raw stuff. You're going to put out the highlight reel. And I did an article a long time ago for a magazine, and the title was "Your Real Life versus the Real Life."
Ooh.
REEL versus REAL, because we often doom scroll on social, seeing what everybody else is doing, and then you feel worse about yourself because look at them, how do I compare? I can't do any of this. I'm like, so then you stay small, you kind of repress, you kind of shrink, you kind of walk with your shoulders like hunched over, and then instead of putting yourself out there and being confident, you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this. And I'm not to say that I never do that, because sometimes I'll still catch myself, why are you doing this instead of that? Why are you procrastinating on this when you should be doing this? What is standing in your way? The procrastination is a fear-based thing. You're looking for busy versus productive.
Or perfect. Or you're looking for
perfect. Well, one of my chapters is perfectly imperfect. It's called Perfectly Imperfect. I'm looking to see which one that was. Yeah, it's just I'm failing forward. Oh, here it is, chapter 9, Perfectly Imperfect. In the middle of a difficulty lies opportunity. Albert Einstein. Yeah, So I'm going to say something about this book. It's very real, raw, and relatable, because there are chapters. It's very thin, as I said, thin, easy read, very profound read, because it's raw. So people read like, wow, I can't believe you told us that. I mean, I did. Like I just did.
Talk about being open and authentic with your truth.
I totally was.
Things that we're most afraid of. And it's interesting because I've had a little bit of a rough season right now, and I normally would be I'm just going to pull away and no one's going to know what's going on, and social media will make it look like it's freaking perfect. And what I decided to do this time around was, and now I haven't posted on social because that's just personal preference, but it's been more, I reached out to a few people and I was like, hey, here's what is actually going on. Here's where I'm at in my headspace. And like, I had a voice note I sent off last week where I'm practically in tears. Real raw, like I'm really going through it.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always been I don't show when I cry.
Yeah.
I've always been not trained. This wasn't like something like family was like, oh, you can't cry. It's just for whatever reason, even as like a child, I had a strong aversion to crying. And so for me, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. And I remember sending it off, and then the person saved the voice note, and I was like, no, don't do that. And yet afterwards, it was just like, thank you for sharing. I'm glad that you opened up. And then I was like, I'm very tempted to apologize for this and I just was like, you know what, though, I'm not going to apologize for my emotion. Instead, I'm going to tell you thank you for holding the space.
Yes. It's a different energy. The apologizing, like, I can't believe I did that, I put it out there. It's like, oh no, I'm not perfect, and they're going to see that I'm human. Yes. Meanwhile, that person said, I'm glad you were glad you sent it, and they were happy that they got it, because they're showing that, oh my God, she's human too. She goes through this stuff too. Yes. And it's more relatable than, oh, you're up on this pedestal of being perfect. She's got it all together, she's got her show, she's got this, she's got that, yay her. And then you feel worse about you. It's like, well, how can I ever achieve that status? She must have people doing something that she has all this team and everything. It's like, we have a team of angels for sure. Angels in the outfield, they're not so far in the outfield, they're here.
Absolutely.
And we get to grow through what we go through. That's one of the quotes I say. It's like, it's not in the book, it's one of my own quotes. But we do. And it's a choice.
It
We
is.
could either bury our heads in the sand and like I wanted to do when I was going through that season of, being in that pain, physical, mental, emotional. I will say spiritual, even though I wasn't spiritual yet. It was
But
everything.
I think it's part of your process if
It
you look
is.
back at it,
Yeah.
because you might not have had a spiritual practice at that point. It
Right.
was a part of what we'll call an awakening or a divine intervention in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, you had to hit a very deep, call it rock bottom, but
Oh,
at
yeah.
the other side of it, you were able to reclaim yourself, reclaim your worth, reclaim how you see yourself,
Reclaim my voice.
and reclaim your voice. Well, I was letting that one for you.
That was reclaiming my own voice. The
Hmm.
voice that I didn't ever speak up about. So all the anger, the frustration, the things that are bent up and pent up inside of you, you know, you need to release them somehow.
Yes.
And not through drugs or alcohol or sex or
Or
any
scrolling.
or scrolling. No, but I mean, it's a drug. They're all drug. It's a drug of
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
Over exercising, under exercising. It's like, you push your body so hard. It's like punishment, and you're not punishing it. You want to you. Actually, I say drug of choice. Exercising, over exercising. I did that too. I mean, I
Hmm.
stopped eating for a while because I was just punishing myself any way I could. I mean, it was just, food like you don't deserve it. I was in such a bad state for so many different parts of my life and different, as I look back on it. Um, I'm a slender person, but I do work out and I exercise and I do eat healthy now. But then it was just like, I was just, not taking care of the vessel that I was given. And when you don't take care of the vessel, then it doesn't take
Gives
care of
out.
you. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't take care of you. It doesn't show up for you when you don't show up for it. So you got to be consciously aware of, like the child. It's like your child when you care for a child. And even though we're adults, we're still, that child is inside of us that maybe didn't receive that nurturing or that love that she or he needed. And as you get
Hmm.
older, those
You
things
have
that
to
weren't
replace
addressed when
that.
you were younger don't go away. You're just an older version of that younger child in grown up clothes and grown up things, but it still was never nurtured. So
Yes.
start giving back to him or her of the things that maybe you didn't get as a child.
Yes. You have to reparent that version of
Reparent,
yourself.
absolutely.
Very true.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I'm
just take care.
curious.
Just take care of it. Yes. You're curious. You're a
Have
curious
you?
gal.
I am a curious gal, always.
Yes, I've noticed. Go ahead.
So, how do you help women separate who they truly are from the roles they've been conditioned to perform?
Perfect segue. That's the one you mentioned in the opening, the voice blueprint. So the voice blueprint starts with vulnerability. It's VOICE. Yes, I know you know how to spell voice. But I love acronyms and I love quotes. And I wanted to choose something that would be representative of the journey
Hmm.
that we go through. And that's vulnerability to empowerment. So V in voice is vulnerability. O is owning your voice. And I have a word for each letter, and it ends with E, empowerment. And it had to go in that order because you can't, I mean, I couldn't just pick any V, O. I mean, there was no chat GPT when I did this. This was like 2018, 2019. I was like thinking, I said, what kind of word can I think of with voice and what word with each letter? But like I said, it had to really go with a special
Voice.
order. Yeah,
Yeah.
it had to be in a certain sequence because so what V word? And I was going through the V words. I'm like, I went to Webster's dictionary. I'm like, what V word? And then I was racking my brain instead of looking up every page. I'm like, what word can I come up with? It was really a tedious chore that I gave myself because I wanted really something that was going to be powerful, like a powerful tool. that could
Mhm.
go and grow with each person that went through it. And
Yes.
so it has to start with vulnerability. You gotta like unpack, release
Ooh.
the stuff. You know, when you plant a garden, you plant vegetables, you plant a plant, whatever it is you're planting, you gotta get rid of the old soil
Hmm.
and put in fresh soil. So you gotta like release the stuff that's not working. So release the things in your life. So we work through that vulnerability to empowerment. So that's the voice blueprint. And what I do with each client, whether it's a group or an individual that I work with, is I tailor it to you. So what is you're looking to achieve? We talk about what's going on in your life and what's the outcome you're looking to have. Because everybody is looking for something simpler, but at the end of the day, we all want to be loved. But it's a self-love that we've abandoned ourselves along the way. Whether if you're a mom or a wife, and you know, or any of the above, and you have a family and you have your work, whatever it is, you're serving somebody else, but you disconnect somewhere and you abandon yourself. You don't need to abandon yourself in the process of helping others. Leadership starts from within.
That's a mic drop right there. Well, what becomes possible for a woman when she stops apologizing for who she is then?
Freedom. Everything opens up. You free yourself to be yourself.
Ooh, I
And
love
that is
that.
up to you. Free yourself to be yourself. The voice blueprint is the process along the journey of finding your voice in business and in life.
Beautiful. So, if a woman listening to this right now feels very disconnected from herself, just as you did,
Mm.
what's the first thing you'd want her to know?
That she is enough, she is valued, she is worthy and deserving of all the greatness there is in life. That maybe she's in a narcissistic relationship. It's like, how the heck am I supposed to get out of this one? And why would I attract this? Because I said earlier, we attract, who we are. And I'm like, who would want to get abused? Who would sign up for that? You didn't sign up on purpose for that, but somewhere you felt that that's all you deserved.
Mm.
And then women that do get abused in some way, then you find out the mother was also like that, or the mother was somewhere, there's a connection with the mother, the parent, and somewhere in that line of the women that I've worked with. It's somewhere in
Generational trauma.
the
Love it.
generational trauma, that turns up. So we clear that out, and you gotta excavate to cultivate. And that's what we do in the voice blueprint.
Beautiful. So, wrapping up here, before we do our quick fire round, how can people stay connected?
Please reach out. You can find me on all the social media platforms. You can go to also, what I would recommend, go Renee at reneereisch.com, and I'll spell the last name. First name is Renee at Renee. Last name is Reis, like Sam, C like Charlie, H like Harry, Reisch.com. Renee at reneereisch.com. And reference this beautiful podcast with Anita. And I'll be happy to connect with you and send you my calendar link if you want to get on a call, make a complimentary call together. We can share our voices, see what you're going through, and hopefully, helping you. And hopefully, I want to say together, we can grow through it together. Because what I've learned is it's okay to reach out. It's okay to ask for help. So often we think it makes you weak, and it's a weak thing about ourselves, but it really makes you stronger. And when you start surrounding yourself with like-hearted women, I didn't say like-minded, because if you're not in the right mindset, then a like-minded person's not going to help. But like-hearted people, it will really help you along your journey.
Beautiful. Well, are you ready for me? We're just gonna do a quick fire round. Think one word to one sentence,
Okay.
and it's just whatever first comes to mind.
Okay.
A book that's changed your life
My own.
outside of yours.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this is not for an ego thing. I'm going to say this because as I wrote it, I have to say this. Well, I don't have to. I want to. Um, I almost didn't write the book because I said, didn't feel worthy. I said, who really cares about my own journey? Who cares? Everybody goes through stuff. Why would I be any different? And
Hmm.
why do I need to write this? I've never written a book. Who really cares about what happened to me? And then I got this knock on the head saying, Renee, it's not going to be so much about you, but because of your journey, how many other people you're going to be able to serve in this lifetime and generations to come. And that's why, because it was very cathartic
Hmm.
for me. I mean, I would really throw pieces away of paper. I was handwriting everything. So it was that process of having the cathartic process of like bringing this stuff
Trading.
up to heal. Not realizing that it wasn't healed until I wrote the book, and I was reliving things. I'm like, wow, I get that's still there. And this was years ago when I wrote it. So it was back in well, it was like 3 years ago. 2020 is when it was released. 2018 is when I started writing it.
Beautiful.
So yeah, um,
Okay, I will let yours slide, but typically I try not to have them reference their own book.
and again,
Fair enough. A word that describes your current season. Please don't say spring.
inevitable is my word. Yeah, inevitable because the things that are meant for me are
All right, inevitable.
inevitably finding.
Beautiful. A daily non-negotiable that currently fuels your power.
A daily non-negotiable that currently fuels me. Meditation.
Beautiful. A song that instantly lifts your mood.
Um, Celine Dion. Because you love me.
Ah, love it. Best advice you've ever received in a single sentence.
To be you.
Beautiful. And lastly, what's one thing you want women to stop apologizing for?
Themselves.
Beautiful
Stop
answer.
apologizing for anything that of anything. You're okay. Don't apologize for yourself.
Beautiful. Well, Renee, I feel like this conversation was such a powerful reminder that losing your voice rarely happens overnight. It
Yeah.
happens slowly through self abandonment, through people pleasing, through shrinking to fit in spaces that aren't meant for you. But what I love about this conversation is that the reminder is that our voice is never truly gone. We have the ability to choose to come home, to simply relearn how to re strengthen our voice. And sometimes it's simply buried under survival patterns, fear, conditioning, and the need for acceptance. And what I think was really powerful today is that reclaiming yourself isn't about becoming louder, it's about becoming more honest about who you already are. So, with that said, thank you again for the work you're doing and for the way you help women reconnect with themselves in a grounded and empowering way. And to everyone listening, if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who may need this reminder. And as always, your next level doesn't come from the need of becoming someone else. It comes by fully returning home to yourself. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.